You're listening to the Jaybird Watching Podcast, the official podcast of jaysjournal.com and Fansided.com. We are the official ballroom chat for everything Toronto Blue Jays baseball, from game highlights to rumors and all the stuff in between. Here's your host, Craig Borden, with co-hosts Jason Lyons and Liz McGuire. Now let's talk some Toronto Blue Jays baseball.
Good evening, Blue Jays fans, and welcome to the All Things Babe Schneider edition of Jaybird Watching. I'm sorry, I just couldn't help it. He's on fire. So, Jason, Liz, welcome. How we doing? This is the first week. It's just the three of us in a bit.
Yeah, it's been a bit. I don't know. It's kind of nice to be just the crew. We had a wild and crazy week. Was it last week or the week before? I have a time problem with Mr. Todd Stottlemyre, where I almost cried 15 times because we were interviewing a legend of a man that felt, when I was a kid, felt so far away, right? Like all of those Blue Jays, and I lived in a small town. It just felt extra far. So to have the opportunity to talk to Todd, and for him to be such an awesome guy was super moving.
Totally. Jason?
Yeah, I mean, it was epic. And I think that one of the things that it sort of started firestorm wise is I seem to be getting better response from some of the Jays on Twitter and stuff like that. So, I mean, it could be a gateway, guest that leads us to more of those 92, 93 Blue Jays. We would love to have that, obviously. But just, some of the insights, and interestingly, the thing that I keep seeing guys from this team coming back to over and over and over again is Cito Gaston. Like, I mean, he was completely the reason why those teams were as good as they were. And it was awesome to hear him talk about Dave Winfield. Like, as much as Dave Winfield is a Hall of Famer, a great baseball player, all the rest of that stuff. I mean, he's like Sidney Crosby. Like, you just don't know anything about the guy. Like, you really don't. Like, is he married? Does he have kids? Like, who knows? No one knows. Dave Winfield knows. So it was nice to sort of see, a few other parts of that team. So yeah, totally awesome for me. And as usual, my life is a total crap storm. Other than that, I mean,
you got two
anywhere and everywhere with children.
I said it today. I was like, you have too many elite sports children doing elite sports children things, which sounds expensive but fun.
It's both of those things. It's super rewarding too. Like, I mean, to see these kids try as hard as they do at the things that they do, makes you proud, and it makes you realize that, team sports and sports altogether, be them individual or whatever you're doing, they're very important. It's very hard to work as hard as you can. And, don't let people push you into a direction you don't want to go. If you don't want to play hockey anymore and you're a Canadian, that doesn't matter. Just go and go ski, go fish, go do something, anything. Just be out there and be active.
Yeah. And on that note, I just got to mention the fact that, Jason, I thought it was awesome that you and Todd had that wonderful moment where you both leveled out, that we made sure we put out on social media, that point where you basically owned up to the fact that you weren't the best, dad ride home car after the baseball game, and you guys have found a way to level out with that. And then Todd having some of those stories that we go match up with that. I just thought that was great that you two were actually personally, and I'm sure this is one of the Liz cry moments almost, because she's like, oh my God, he's such a cool guy. So, but that was really cool that we were able to have him on and talk in that depth personally to this group, rather than just being the I'd say one of the best World Series stories I've heard on the flip side of that coin, where he was in the bullpen, warming up for the next inning. Joe Carr hits the home run basically over the bullpen, and he goes, oh my God, who hit it? And he runs down in the field. It was wild. So
yeah, super cool.
Just your mind.
The whole way around. Like, I mean, I like all of the guests that we've had. We've had a lot of good ones over the years we've been together. Not to take away from the Heck or anybody who we do love to see, and please come back, Eric. Anything, and all of our guests.
He'll be back soon.
I know.
Him and I are already talking.
I gotta say that was next level. I've had responses from all over Twitter, from all over Facebook, from all over Instagram. It's been amazing. And, we're hoping to get more of this going in. I know as a group, collectively, we are going to try and entertain our following as much as possible. And as entertaining as the three of us are, we know that superstars that have World Series rings are also pretty cool too. So we're going to try and do that.
The greatest comment I got.
Come back.
Yeah, the greatest comment that I got was on Reddit, and it said some guy was like, "Bro, Are you saying you took transformed a line drive to the face to a Todd Stottlemyre interview? I was like, yes, I did. Yes,
that's like
I did.
Paperclip. That's the paperclip to the house.
Card.
Right? Yeah. And I was like, that's like best Jays fan ever right there. It's like leverage it to meet Todd Stottlemyre. Like, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
can I make this joke because you were talking about your autograph earlier today on Twitter? I saw.
Yeah. I am a PSA.
PSA marketed.
Yeah, I'm in the PSA market, which is the most insane thing. Because I was like, oh, I'll put some of my cards into PSA, get them graded for the kids in my family, right? I don't really care, but it's cute. The kids can have something nice of my face, which is messed up. But I was like, oh, friggers, they may think that my signature's a fraud. I don't want to get called out. It's me, but they don't know it's me because I'm a nobody. So then they were like, hey, Liz, I reached out to them and the PSA was like, yeah, we know who you are. Way to go. And I was like, thank you. And then I got in their database and I was like, do I have to do a form or something? And they're like, no, there's enough signatures out there that we can kind of verify it. And I was like, so for $25, this nobody's in the list. Let's go.
To that point, Liz, not to steal Craig's.
Let's go.
That's Craig's. We could have a shirt. But so I had my first of all of doing this, where a kid walked up, and I'm not lying to you when I say this. A kid walked up to me in a hockey arena and said, "You're the Jaybird watching guy," and I was like, "Yeah, dude, I am." I know.
That's good PR. I don't care where it comes from. Even if it's your face instead of mine, I'm fine with it.
Everything. That means and the thing is that you feel validated when it's kids who do it. You feel I got recognized by a 14-year-old at a game once, and he's just looked at me and said, "You're a Topps card," and I was like, "Yeah, I am." And I was I felt I finally felt the goodness because I was kind of feeling weird about almost dying and being a collectible. But as soon as you're just you're the Jaybird man, you're that's you.
I was talking to a buddy about it who is an actor. His name's Dan Payne. He does a lot of Hallmark stuff, and he's been in a couple of. He's pretty famous dude as dudes go. Big, handsome, strapping man. And I was talking to him about it, and he's like, the first time you're never going to admit that first time is the first time. It's never gonna feel any better than that first time where someone says, "I recognize you and I like what you do." So big ups to that kid. I didn't get his name or anything like that because I thought that would be weird. But thanks for listening. And
you're the first one to say that.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing. I got
I'm
knocked off
kind of jealous.
baseball.
I'm the only one that hasn't had that moment because I lived all the way down here in Rochester, New York. And nobody knows.
We'll have to fly out and do an event.
Maybe we could go together.
Let's do Bill's Mafia or something like that. We'll get I'll jump off something onto a table and
Get t-shirts with your face on them.
Well,
because that's the thing.
Maybe it'll happen next weekend because I'm coming up to hang out with Liz next weekend to watch the Marlins series. So who knows?
It's true.
Come on. And there's the other part to that point. Best thing I love about this group is regardless of who walks up to anybody, we're happy to have a baseball chat with.
Always.
Always. It's so easy to be nice and cool. It's always, it's so easy to be nice and cool. That's why I was like, so somebody was like, Liz, somebody's forging your baseball card online. And I was like, they look cool. They look cool, right? So I had nothing to give to kids. Now I have things I could hand out to children, kids. Somebody wants my baseball card for sure. Anyway.
Speaking of that, did Scott give you the pile of leftover counterfeit stuff that we were handing out in front of the ball game?
No, I literally walk by his house 25 times when I go to the gym, and I will see him. I'll get it this weekend.
He's on tour, I think. I asked him if he was going to be coming on the game when I'm coming up, if we were going to get to hang out all four of us again. And unfortunately, it sounds like he's going to be tripping. So hopefully he's still home this weekend. But anyway, on that note, I got you a fancy business card. I sent Jason one of these.
I have it. It works great. I'm using it a bunch of times. That's awesome.
We're a real business. Let's go.
Those RFID chip ones that you put on your phone. Tap on somebody's phone, and it goes boom. There's Jaybird watching.
Yep. Pretty cool.
That's fancy.
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
It can be
Iron Man stuff.
Liz. Yeah. So anyway, let's talk some damn baseball because that's actually what we're supposed to be talking about. So all things baseball, all things fun. On episode 426 of the Jaybird Watching podcast. Today we actually got to walk off a series in some nice fashion. I want to talk about today before we start diving into week that was, and honestly, some of the headlines that we haven't gotten to over Looney Hot Dog Night and Todd Stottlemyre Night over the past couple of weeks. But we have a 30 home run Vlad Jr. season at hand, gang. Liz, you were the one that was all about it earlier, right before we got on the show. Tell me what you're thinking with Vlad being on the 30 home run club for this season.
Yeah, it feels so good. It feels so good. I remember the first half of the season, and I think maybe the bases were loaded, and I think Vladdy might have been up, and we needed that run. We needed we needed a walk off or something, and he didn't get it. And I remember thinking, I don't trust this man. I don't think he can do it. Like, I remember saying, I don't think he can do it. There's something wrong. And I remember straight up bitching to my friends that why didn't our superstar work out? Like, why did our guy just fucking not be the guy we needed?
Did it feel like Vernon Wells all over again to you?
Yeah, like I felt like it's a Toronto curse, a Toronto curse. And so now I'm so excited because he's the guy I want to root for. Even when Bo was hot, like last year or the year before, Vladdy was my guy. I wanted him forever. He stated he wants to stay in Toronto for his entire career. He's the guy. He's fun for kids. He's fun for me. He's a good time to watch. And so I'm so excited that he's succeeding, but like in such a obvious way. Like he had 2 home runs today. He's just slamming. I love it. Love it.
Now, I don't know if you guys know or not, like on the subject of Vladdy. And I mean, I gave Vladdy a really hard time at the start of this season. And he's never really, obviously he's been on fire for the last, couple of months. But did you guys know this? So in the league batting average leaders, he is number 2 behind Bobby Witt. Hits for the season, he's number 3 behind Witt and Arraez. When it comes to OBP leaders, he's number 3 behind Judge and Soto. This guy is absolutely he's in the conversation for MVP. And I was just looking at this, and I don't know if you guys realize this or not, but the Blue Jays record is not all that bad. Like when you look at the Rays and then Boston, and then you're moving upwards, it's like 4 wins difference between the team that like the darlings of the American League East and the Jays. Yeah. And
except bullpen though, my guy.
But bullpen. They haven't been good. And so, I think all of this, this whole thing that we've seen over the last couple of weeks, we'll recap some of the games, but I feel like sometimes it culminates itself in a game like today where we have Bassett go 5 innings, no hit baseball. He hurt himself or hurt his back.
Was it Bassett or was it Guz?
Or sorry, Gosman.
Yeah.
He comes out in the 5th inning with an injury, which is kind of, I don't love that, but there's really only 3 weeks.
It's near the end of the season. At the end of the day, it just sucks really for the fact that we can't eat innings in our bullpen at all, and now you got that.
Except for the kid who came in today. Whoever came in today, it's going to come to me.
I'm going to the board.
It was.
Is it what?
Oh crud! Dylan Tate.
Yeah,
made his Blue Jays debut. He had a clean inning, and then of course you put in Genesis Cabrera, and people get hits. So the Jays again looked good, but when you have to use less pitchers, they seem to be okay. The bullpen basically needs to be gutted and redone. We all know that. They've got to spend some serious jack in the off season. But I think that even Bo, who is now out again with a broken finger, which again just speaks to this whole year for the poor kid. But I think that will speak strongly to Bo wanting to stay and Bo and Vladdy wanting to push forwards and actually push for a title within the next 4 years. You've got 4 or 5 real top level teams in the majors right now. And I think based on a lot of conversations, they sort of land at number 5. The other thing from this week and non-Blue Jay related was it was pretty awesome to watch the Brewers celebrate. That's a team that I like. It's a bunch of guys I like, and it was really fun to watch them have Bob Uecker in the Dougie. And then did you see Bob Uecker when they covered him in
not your
champagne, and he's like, I peed my pants. It was so funny. Anyways,
the guy's a treasure, man.
oh, the
But
best.
to that point, that's my National League team. I've always been a Brewers fan, and that's still one of my favorite ballparks I've ever been to. And
then Canadian Josh
maybe it is
Naylor,
yeah,
went off,
On fire.
and Cleveland's in. So.
I want those Naylor brothers. I speak about it often. I want the Naylor brothers.
Can we quickly, as a team, discuss what the flip happened in the Mariners-Yankees game with Julio Rodriguez? Like, is there any explanation for what he did? And
worst base running ever.
And when you start to read about it, and you're like, there was a lot of money riding on that game, and you're like, I mean, that's a complete bonehead.
My theory is he just didn't have the right count. That's the best I got, man. Is that
but he wasn't even going to his own dugout.
No,
he was going to where the Yankees were.
Bat up that got thrown.
Is he okay?
That makes sense the way
I don't know. I mean, it was so bizarre. He went to pick up the bat, and then realized that the ball hadn't been hit. The ball was still live. Anyways, regardless,
the Mariners been doing weird stuff. Like,
I know,
the Mariners have been doing
because they're shooting themselves in the foot.
It's their favorite thing to do come this time of year.
Yeah, I think also my theory. Remember, the film Angels in the Outfield, how the Angels are actively helping the Angels win, like the Ghost Angels. I feel like perhaps there's like reverse Angels just messing up the Mariners games, because like that's how insane that it is. Like, that's what I got. Evil spirits.
Yeah. Evil shenanigans.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm trying to get the vid going here, but there's way too much crap coming up on TikTok for freaking.
I mean, I think that the Jays' performance, within the Texas series hasn't been great. But I mean, I think there's been some high points certainly in the last two series. Like, you look back to the St. Louis series. That's a pretty flipping good series. They sweep the Cardinals. They did drop 2 to the Mets. But I feel like, even in Atlanta, they won a big one in Atlanta. And I feel like there's certainly positives that can be taken. And I think we can finally answer the question, that a lot of people, if you read the other, some of the less quality blogs and they're constantly questioning the new guys even. And it's like, you know what? I think that Clement and Barger and all these guys have proven now that they are good enough to be everyday players. If not for the Jays, then we need to start as the media building these people up, these players up. So if we do need to trade them, that we get a bounty back. David Schneider, to your point, Craig, David Schneider finally comes out of his hibernation, with only 3 weeks left in the season. Way to go, buddy. But I mean, he's hitting everything that's thrown at him, and thank goodness.
Baseball's a game of adjustments, man. That's just how it is. But to that point, he's figured something out over the last few weeks, and then he's been getting more playing time. So that's the other part that you get when you finally do get something that clicks. You got to have some way of continuing to, get going. He was so bad after being an everyday left fielder for so long this season that there was no way in hell he was getting in the lineup. And I was honestly shocked he's stuck in the majors. And it was because he could basically come off the bench and hit a home run. I really think is what stuck him around, right?
I don't know if we're going to see him in the majors. I don't know if we're going to see him on the team next year. But the thing is like, I want to keep him. I want to pull him up when other guys go, are in a slump. I think he's a guy to keep. I don't think, even if he's not on the team next year, I don't think this is the end of his major league career. I think baseball's, again, a very hard game. And I think he's got a really good attitude he even just said, like, he's just trying to have an even keel about it. But like, I think that Schneider can and will continue to play kind of an important role in our team, whether that be as a full-time member or somebody we just kind of bring up midseason.
Thank God he's above the Mendoza line now with a 201 batting average. But this is the part that you miss. He's exactly an average player as far as WAR is concerned. But he's got 40 6 RBIs. That means he contributed when he did finally get hits. And there was a point there he was batting really well. It just shows how bad that slump really was for him, because he was batting 280 or something like that at one point, and just
well, he was silent at the start of the year. He was silently doing well. He wasn't going 4 for 5, but he was going 2 for 5. And in games where he wasn't, he was being effective at getting on base, and he was doing a very good job of the things that he needed to do. And then it was just like he jumped off a cliff, baseball wise. And we've seen it before. We've seen other players have it happen to them. I thought it was funny that they reported that Dalton Varsho was hurt, and there was all these people that commented underneath, and they're like, he's still playing? It was quite funny to me to be like, they were like, oh, he's out, he needs shoulder surgery. And they were like, what do you mean? Yeah. We thought he quit a month ago.
Schneider was batting 262 in April. He batted 233 in May, and then he batted 169 for the whole month of June. Had a little bit of resurgence in July, batting 211, and then it gets even worse. August, he batted 064.
Boom.
So that is where your batting average goes to shit. And to that point, he just couldn't, like I said, the league adjusted. Something wasn't working in his swing, whatever it is. He's sure as shit turned that around. Seeing so far this month, he's batting 257 with 3 home runs and 9 RBIs. And that also includes a double and a triple. So just saying.
I feel like David Schneider is easy for me to root for. And so I root for him like crazy. Because he feels like the everyman of baseball. It's like Davis is out there. He's not so glamorous. He's hustling. He's quietly just working his hardest, I believe. And I'm just like, I respect that. Yep. And I always hope things turn around. And whenever David Schneider gets a dinger, it hits different.
Yeah. For every team that you have that guy, that's the, I'm going to use this analogy. For every team that you had the Joe Carter on, you need the Derek Bell.
Yep.
In the 92 World Series. For every, I'm trying to think of really, like, for every Vernon Wells, you need the Reed Johnson. Things like that. David Schneider could be one of those guys on any of these teams going forward. It really could be. And just be that guy that when you ride the hot streak, and then he's going to have some lows, and then you come back and ride the hot streak. How much different is Dalton Varsho's season offensively versus David Schneider's? Not really at all, but defensively.
I think about Springer. I think about Springer in these discussions as well, right?
Yeah.
It's like nobody's questioning. Well, I mean, they were questioning, but like, even what was Springer's like batting average in his low point? Can you get that out? Yeah,
I can get that up. Give me a second.
It wasn't good. We can effectively say that. Like, I mean,
he was below the Mendoza line for sure.
Yes.
For a long time.
And he acknowledged that. And he actually, I remember a time where he was saying, I'm okay with them not playing me because I couldn't hit water if I fell out of a boat right now. It's what it is. And at least George had the wherewithal. And I also feel like George is going to have the wherewithal what do we have him for? Another 2 years?
Yeah.
Something like that. So, I mean, he knows that he's the thing for me though, is he's still fast for a guy his age. Like he almost legged out that sort of half a bunt.
Yeah.
And a guy his age should not be able to come that close on a play at first like that. So, I mean, he's still good in the outfield. He's clearly fast enough to cover right. And he has no problems out there. I mean, my hope is that the Jays can see that he needs to bunt a little bit more. He needs to take more pitches. He strikes out a lot, so he needs to take more pitches. But he also has to make sure that he realizes what his shortcomings are and that he plays into his own strengths to allow those 2 years to not be a total nightmare.
I think this is really wild because we all remember how rough the beginning of his season was. So I'm going to lay this out, and then I'm going to tell you the tale of two parts of his season all at once. So in the month of April, he batted 211, May 206, June 226, and then he finally found it, batted 274 in July when things got hot. And then he took a complete backwards to that, where he went and batted $165 for the month of August. Now, so far this month, he is batting 292. So It sounds very all over the place, right? His first half and second half numbers so far are basically on top of each other. Because obviously, if you project out his second half season stuff right now, he's got the same batting average right now as he did in the first half, literally within 0.2 points, or sorry, 0.002 points, and he's just short 4 more home runs and about 12 RBIs to get to where his first half numbers were. And that was in 90 games his first half. There was only 50 so far in this half.
Yeah.
So, because the half isn't really the half anymore.
Well, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's modified. But I mean, I think,
Correct.
as you know, as much as we've, taken the crap out of these guys for the last part of this season, I mean, the last 2 months haven't been all that bad. And we've seen a lot of bright spots. I mean, it's, some of the injuries lately have been bothersome, but I mean, you want to just get through the year, make sure that the younger kids can go and play in Texas or wherever they're going to go play for the their off-season ball, get some good rips in. I mean, Addison Barger went from Vancouver to Texas and came out a complete animal. I mean, he was hitting like 480 in the Texas league, and these are all superstars. These aren't junk kids that are going to this. And I mean, I think that obviously Clement and those guys, I don't think they go. I think they're too old to go, or I think most of them probably just say no, and I'm just going to take the summer or the winter off. But those younger guys, like, we need to see as much as we can from them, and a hot start next year. They got to come out of the gate and at least dominate for a couple of months. And so then if they do have a skid, it isn't as effectual. Like, I mean, sure, the Yankees are in and they had a pretty mean skid for a while, but they had a great start. And then they were able to bob along rather than staying down like the Jays did for a while.
So I just found the craziest 2024 Toronto Blue Jays stat that I'm very shocked by. And this isn't about the players on the field, but I just happened to pull up the baseball reference page for this year as I was trying to see how many people were on this roster. And I was going to dive into some more silly things where you were kind of going there, Jason. Does anybody have a guess on where we rank in the American League for attendance?
We're
It's
number
way up
five,
there.
five between 5 and 8, maybe 11, 5 and 8 or 11. I'm guessing between those.
Jason,
and is it numbers or is it percent full? Those are two different stats.
Out of 15, where do we rank?
No, but what is the ranking? Is it percentage of the stadium full, or is it the number of people?
It's total attendance.
Number 11.
People.
3.
11.
Okay, are those your final answers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jason, you missed by 1. We're 4th.
Great. That's great. I was on a
Blue Jays
morning
have had
show.
2.5 million people go through the turnstile so far this year for the ball.
I was on a morning show.
With how bad we've been.
I was on a morning show, and I was it was in Iowa. I was on an Iowa morning show, and they were blasting me. Like, I realized I rolled on, and they were just going to be buffoons to me, but I could handle that. Cool. And I was like telling them about how like the kids had like offered me their bobbleheads after I got hurt, and the guys were like, "Oh, well, like, there's nobody there," and I was like, we have one of the highest attendances in the league. I just fired stats at them, and I was like, so you're wrong. But yeah, like,
fake news.
It was like, we may not do well baseball, but our attendance is always good, which is actually a bummer to me. I think maybe I've spoken about this before. It's because we're Canada's team. We're not a regional team. If we were a regional team, our attendance would dip when the team was doing badly and put more pressure on our ownership to make adjustments that are needed. But because we have a Canadian-based team, so people are buying tickets a year ahead, coming from far away, that like we don't have the same kind of ebb and flow with attendance when our team does bad.
I will say this as well, and this has been noted, and this is the first year I've sort of noticed it away from the Jays broadcast. Obviously when it's Sportsnet, it's a Jays broadcast. You notice when they pan to the crowd and they show big groups of Jays fans and all the rest of that stuff. I was watching the Apple feed from a couple of weeks ago that the Jays were on, and they actually were commenting on the Jays being one of the most well-traveled teams behind like the Yankees and a few other, like a real select group of teams that travel really, really, really well. Now, I mean, I think that speaks to two things. I think the people of Canada, when they go to American cities, if they know they're going to go to a baseball game, even somebody from Vancouver, Saskatchewan, Alberta, they probably take something Blue Jays related, or they buy something Blue Jays related because they know they're going to go to a Jays game.
Yeah.
That being said, I also feel like there are a lot of Canadians down in the States who manage to stay as Jays fans because they live in cities where there is Major League Baseball. So you can, be in Houston and go to Astros games. And when the Jays come, you throw your Jays gear on and da-da-da. But I mean, I've been overly impressed, not only with the crowds at home, but the crowds on the road and the knowledge of the crowds at home. And I don't give Toronto enough props for a lot of things, but I will say this, for Jays fans that have been in attendance, they've recognized all the no-nos. They've recognized all of the, when anybody is in a slump and they break out of it, they've been very good about being fans of a team that's not very good, which speaks really well to when they are rolling. Like when they're rolling, it'll be impossible to get tickets. It'll be like it, like we want it to be. You want it to be that busy in the stadium. You want it to have a buzz and a hum. And like the Vancouver Canadians' final playoff games, the last two here before they went down and lost to Spokane, unfortunately, they were complete sellouts with them allowing people to stand in areas that they've never let people stand before because there was like an extra 1,000 people that wanted tickets. And so I feel like there's a surge of baseball right now in Canada. The Jays are taking advantage of that, and I mean, hopefully, like we teased over the next couple of weeks here, we're going to get some of these young kids that are going to showcase for the Jays this week and for other teams. But these are Canadian kids who, for lack of a better thing, can't really play baseball from like October until February. Yep. Maybe, and these
that
kids,
whole thing about it's cold outside.
Well, yeah, but these kids are showing now on the world stage that Canadian baseball players can make an impact, and so it's cool. And we were just talking about like the Naylor brothers. Like, I mean, they're one of the reasons why Cleveland is as good as they are right now, and 100%. I think that's super cool.
So I wanted to take a quick piece of not talking Blue Jays for 2 seconds here because there is a Major League Baseball history thing that has happened within the last 4 minutes.
Oh, did you
want to take a guess?
Shohei?
Yep.
Shohei just hit his 50th home run. Now has 50 stolen bases, the first athlete in Major League Baseball history.
Is this breaking news? Did it just happen live?
50.
Yeah.
It just happened. I just saw it on Twitter, and I would love to show it, but my computer's lagging out.
Who are they playing?
He hit it where they're playing the Marlins, and he hit it where the statue used to be. 109 miles an hour off the bat. So just to say, he hit a little far, moderately opposite field.
Wow. Well, good for him. I mean, he's earning his $700 million when he takes over ownership of the LA Dodgers in 10 years and changes them to the LA Otanis. You heard it here first.
I'm into that.
Yeah, breaking news right here. Shohei Ohtani's Los Angeles Dodgers Baseball Club.
I'll text Shohei now and tell him congrats.
Yeah, so it would be Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani presents the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yeah, in Osaka. They'll be like the California Angels of Anaheim.
Yeah.
But no, that's really cool. I as much as I, being the, what turned into Planegate and all the other stuff, that is cool for baseball that Shohei has done something on that crazy level. So where does he go from here is my first question, because now he's been pitching again on the bullpens and stuff like that. What the hell does his season next year look like if he's able to? I don't think you end up being a 50-50 ball player again if you're going to turn around and play on the mound and hope to be a good pitcher, which he is all over again. But this is just wild because he was a good pitcher and a great home run hitter last year. Now you talk going even more wild next year. I don't know what your guys thought about that whole thing is, or do you think there's got to be a regression there on one end of the ball?
I don't know. I'm not making any predictions with this guy. He's just such a unicorn. I don't know.
Here's something, and I don't know if you guys saw this. I kind of threw this out into the ether this week. So there's never been a player to DH and win an MVP. It's never happened. Paul Molitor won an MVP in the playoffs, a World Series MVP as a DH. David Ortiz was, talked about as the MVP a number of times, but it's never been given to a non-position player. Now, here's my thinking. Ohtani has done something that very few, super rare. 50-50 is as rare as it gets.
Right.
It's something to be celebrated and all of the rest of it. He's not the MVP. It's just the truth. He's not Acuna. There's guys out.
He's out.
Yeah, I know. But you know what I'm saying? Maybe Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is in there every day playing. He's crushing home runs. He's playing really well on the outfield. I just think it's really hard to give the MVP to Ohtani when he doesn't play a position. And people will probably thrash me on this, but I don't care.
You're not the only one saying it.
Yeah,
the odds are in favor of Shohei Ohtani, but there's two other ones, which this is where I think you have to give it to Shohei Ohtani. The next two closest quote-unquote MVP candidates, according to the odds on, funny enough, the same place that we're going to talk about later, Underdog Sports. Francisco Lindor is the next closest. And
Bobby?
He's 700 points over.
Right.
Sorry,
that's actually who I meant.
Where does Bobby? Sorry, I know it's like separate, but where does Bobby Witt
He's got to be
Jr.
just underneath that.
compared to that? Okay.
Bobby Witt Jr. is just underneath Aaron Judge, followed by teammate Juan Soto. But it is actually not a much closer race according to the AL MVP odds. You're
now,
within,
if you look at it on whole,
plus 1,000.
Bobby Witt should be the guy who's in consideration more than Bobby Witt is third in slugging. He leads in runs. He's fourth in OBP. He's leads batting average. He leads in hits. Yep. He's doing more for his team than the other guys. The other guys are home runs help your team unless, of course, it's a 12-0 game and you make it 12-1, But to have Bobby Witt mentioned in all those different categories, of which Shohei is in 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Bobby Witt is in 6 of those. So, I get it. I get where people, talk about it. But if you just looked at that, what I was just looking at, Bobby Witt is performing better than Shohei Ohtani, and he plays shortstop.
Yes.
And his name is Bobby. I just want to straight up be like, that's it.
Oh,
in a
and
baseball name, Junior. Bobby and Junior, and that's a baseball name.
Yep, it is.
Yeah,
he's a baseball player.
But if you were looking at the statistician fund that it is, Sabermetrics in Major League Baseball, Aaron Judge is a 9.8 WAR right now.
Jesus,
because he plays center field. And he is having an Aaron Judge season.
How do you not give it to him? How do you give it to a guy who walks up 3 times a game, and if the pitcher's stupid enough to throw it down Main Street, it goes out of the yard?
Oh, you mean like our pictures?
Let's not talk about Yena Cabrera and his terrible view of the strike zone.
But hold on, I gotta correct Jason here. Yenesis Cabrera wears these chains though, and the way they sparkle.
Swing. There it is. Bling bling.
Start a jewelry store.
He's been doing well, better. But
let's go.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Genesis.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you. Next week, no, I'm just kidding.
Oh, gee!
I heard a rumor that Yenesis Cabrera is quite a sassy man. That's the rumor that I've heard. He's sassy.
Mm-hmm. Does he have Riz?
I was honestly shocked he didn't get. I was honestly shocked he almost didn't get thrown out of the game the other night because he was shouting at I forget who at first base after he walked.
Yeah.
So I don't know what Riz is.
I don't know.
But I'm sure he's got it.
I got nothing.
Is he possibly a Sigma Skibbity toilet? That's also something I hear.
Oh, I was like, Jason, why are you scatting, my guy? You good?
No, this is what kids talk. This is kid talk.
See, this is why we have to have the kids on next week. Yeah. They were supposed to be on this week. We got to learn all the new slang so we can talk about
all kinds of stuff. It's awesome.
I want drip, and I also want a drip report from the kids. What is the drip? I want what is the drip?
Aria sliding mitts.
Yeah, I want to hear what the drip is.
I got to get a graphic made up.
My kids can tell you that.
Yeah, I want the drip report because I've never had somebody so interested in various jewelries as my 15-year-old baseball playing nephew. Maybe he's 16. I can't do the math, but like, yeah, man, he's got to have the chains. You got to have the things. You got to have things.
The Cuban links. The
he's
fake
wearing.
Cuban links.
He's wearing a cross, but he's not religious.
I like it when they paint a cross on their face, and I'm like, oh, you must be religious, and they're like, what? And you're like,
oh. Don't worry about it. So there is one fun story in Blue Jays baseball that I'm trying to redig back up, but I'm sure you heard this on the broadcast or read the article that Keegan Matheson wrote recently that part of Davis Schneider's resurgence is he found some certain lumber left over for some Blue Jays players that have been exiting the team. And he's now in those 3 home runs that he hit from back-to-back-to-back games. So I think Keegan's exact words were the traveling, what was that? The traveling sisterhood of the,
No, it was it was the brotherhood of the traveling bats. Something like that. But it was a play on the sisterhood of traveling pants, which I always have time for.
I love traveling pants.
Thank you.
There you go.
Yes.
My daughter wasn't really age, I guess.
Traveling pants slaps. All right. So yeah, it was Danny Jansen's bat. I'm gonna ask Jason's question. Is it just a thing of feeling different, or like is it just like maybe a different bat length he was like never tried before?
Yeah, I think that. So I'm just starting to learn a lot. I've never really dealt with wood bats in my whole life, and big up to Birdman Bats. Gary, congratulations on your wedding. Enjoy your time in Spain. So one of the things I have come to find out is that with an aluminum bat or with a composite bat. Sorry, Jesus, I made myself sound really old there. But with a composite bat, I mean, there's the Hype Fire. There's a couple of bats that are super hot. The kids all use them, and they basically, the acceleration on the ball is, I'd say, 20 to 35 feet. And then when you go to wood, they get a real slap in the face as to what they're actually, how far they can hit the ball. I find that the material the bat is made out of, I mean, you've really only got ash, maple, and birch. Those are the 3 major ones. But yeah, I mean, if you look at, some guys use the bed knob handle, and some guys use a really small handle, and some guys use an axe handle. And, they are constantly, I've come to learn this by giving some of the Vancouver Canadians some of the Birdman bats to try. It is just sometimes putting it in your hand, and the first pitch that comes in, you just, it's like a tuning fork, and you hit it and you're like, wow, that feels a lot better than my bat. It may be garbage, but there's a mental part of your equipment that when you're playing at the C's level, it's different because those guys are paying for their own bats. Actually, the guys in the majors are paying for their own bats too. And I think everyone should know this out there. This is a thing that actually happens. Like, if you're a baseball player in the majors, you don't get free bats. Somebody pays for them, whether it's your agent, whether you pay for them yourself, whether the team pays for them. Somebody's paying for those bats. So when you're making a choice, it's not based on brand normally, because they'll have 40 bats with no brand on them. They'll go try them and they're like, I love this one. And they're like, okay, well, that's the Birdman, pressed maple. And then they go order a dozen of those, and then they try them. And then they'll sometimes run through different bat companies during the year. But because they're not really getting paid to use them, their sponsorship for bats comes completely down to what they want to use. So, I'm sure if you're Mike Trout or Aaron Judge or, those guys probably aren't paying for their bats technically, but somebody is. You don't see Judge out shilling Chandler bats anywhere. He uses a Chandler bat, but you don't see him on a poster or doing commercials or anything online saying, hey, use a Chandler bat. So, if he's not getting paid to do it, then he's not getting paid to do it. So, and I find that interesting too. Like Ohtani, they barely use, the guy's a superstar, and they barely use this guy to move any product. Like, does anybody know what he uses for cleats?
I only know because they show it here in the States a lot, and he uses a New Balance.
Right.
Correct.
Oh.
But if you
out of all things, New Balance.
If you don't dig in, you don't know. And he uses a Mizuno, he uses was using an Asics bat for a long time that no one can even buy. They don't even sell them. It doesn't make any sense for Louisville Slugger to not go to this guy and say, hey, you know what? I know you took a haircut to play baseball this year. How about we give you $10 million to use our bats, and we need you everywhere with them. But I don't see
balance
it.
deal is why he didn't give us snot about the whole deferred money thing, because he's making so much money off of the TV commercials and all that kind of stuff, just to be their basically to be their Michael Jordan.
Yeah, but to your point, Liz, I think that the big thing it is always going to come down to this is feel. Yeah. That you could put tape over the label and let guys hit 50 different bats, and they're going to go with the one that feels the best. That's why you should buy Birdman bats, because they feel awesome.
There's your plug. So just for the Blue Jay fan that hasn't caught this story yet, Babe Schneider, who is obviously hitting more home runs, to break out of his slump, he grabbed a bat off of the bat rack or out of the dugout, whatever, that used to be Danny Jansen's bat. He hits his first home run with the Danny Jansen bat. Then the next 2 games, he pulled another one out, and it was IKF's. So he hit his following 2 home runs over the past week with an old IKF bat. So he hasn't used his bat for 3 home runs. And I would say I'm not going back to my own lumber. There's something there that's working. And I will quote the great baseball movie that is Bull Durham: you don't fuck with a winning streak. And right now, David Schneider is on a winning streak.
And didn't last year, didn't Vladdy get out of his, didn't he get one of Acuna's bats, or somebody got a hit in one of the games? It was one of the big name guys, and he dropped the bat, and the bat boy came out and got it and put it in the Jays dugout rather than taking it to where it was supposed to go. And then Vladdy went on fire with this thing, and then it finally broke. I remember this. And he reached out to whoever it was to say, hey, can you send me some more of those bats? And they were like, just get them made, dummy. Like, just go call the company and get them made. And he was like, no. I need the ones. I need those ones from you. So I don't know.
This is like, how many cups of rum can Joe Bo drink, right?
Yeah, lots.
I need some voodoo.
Yeah. I'm going to just give my own hot observation about bats. Get ready. So it's cheaper to sometimes buy game-used bats from players who maybe didn't make much of an impact than it would to buy the bat new.
Yep.
And these are uncracked used bats, but they're cheaper than like $100, man. Anyway.
Yeah, there's lots of that out there too. Like, I mean, the kids that are out there right now, I mean, I know it's hard because you can't go anywhere and hit a wood bat. Like, you can't go to Dick's down in the States and hit a wood bat. They don't let you. You're allowed to hit they have some composites you can hit, but never the good ones. So to pick a good wood bat is hard because you don't get a chance. Take advantage of your friends. When you show up at ball, or when you show up at a tournament, or when you show up somewhere and you see a bat you've never tried, see if somebody will let you have a couple of rips on it in BP. Like, one of the things that we do well, with the Birdman stuff is that they make bats that hit the ball a long way, but they also don't mark up. So you don't get seam scuffs on the bats. And so that's an important thing with the bat lasting long. But I mean, it all comes down to feel. Like, once it's in your hands, you know if you like it or not.
So I don't know if either of you watching the chat, but apparently you have a fan from afar, Liz, because somebody said, hey, is that Foul Ball Lady?
Hi, what's up? It is.
Yes.
This is Foul Ball Lady. I have a lovely dent in my head, but we're staying positive.
And a proud member of our wonderful team here, third partner on the show. So hopefully someday
I like the way I'm trying to rebrand as Tops Card. Like,
there you go.
Unearned Tops Card.
I will wear a t-shirt that says I know Foul Ball Lady.
Let's go.
I'm putting that on the record right now.
Like, make it girl. Foul ball lady seems too fancy. I know Foul Ball girl, and she's a real bitch.
Maybe our new friends at Underdog Fantasy could that could be first part of our swag package. Would be we know Foul Ball Lady.
So all I'm seeing here is one of those futures, or those shirts that has the list that's like, this, and this, and that says home or something like that on for like Blue Jays. And I'm seeing one that has a bunch of stuff on it. It says home plate lady, foul ball girl.
Getty Lee.
Let's go.
Getty Lee. Mother Getty Lee.
I'm still trying to get Getty Lee on. Yeah, Jaybird watching guy, foul ball girl.
Yeah.
Craig needs a little name.
Buffalo.
I need a nickname other than the guy that giggles at everything.
Buffalo Bill.
Mr. Giggles.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Mr. Giggles. There it is. So, anyways, but on that note, yeah, there's some. Yeah, they said they saw you on an interview. Liz is the next piece of that part. So there you go. My friend caught her at the Dome during her.
Yeah, I did a lot of interviews outside the Dome, and the thing is that people were handing me beers in between interviews. So I was out there with my black eyes, real smashed in, just chugging beers, doing interviews outside the Dome. Let's go.
And people out there wonder why we picked Liz to come on the podcast. I mean, I think that says it all right there. That one statement.
Well, we had the bar room. We needed somebody else to chat with. And to that point, Shenanigans Met Level set the same thing. But we actually finally got a real question from Tanias 35. Hey, a perspective question. Do you appreciate where the Jays are not be in the position that the Mariners are in right now?
I do. I'm gonna
agree that I'm happy with not being a Seattle Mariners fan right now. Personally.
I agree.
But go ahead, Liz.
I also let's remember the Jays are kind of where we wanted them to be. We knew we weren't going to make it into the postseason this year, which makes me enjoy the games more. And we're watching the kids get a chance to play, which for me is just last year was worse. We were going into the wild card when the bats weren't igniting. It was the worst feeling. And we'll talk about the year before with the Mariners. But now I'm kind of I like where we are. I'm excited for postseason baseball. I do have my pick, but it's people won't want to hear my pick. But it's the Dodgers, and everyone's mad about that. Anyway, and I'm pumped.
There you go.
Yeah,
so, Mr. Lyons, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think that we expected more of the Jays, a year ago when we started talking about this year. And then I think we had our highs and lows. I mean, I think that, as a person from Vancouver that doesn't really like the Seattle sports teams, I mean, I really like what's happening down there right now. And it seems to be their MO. It seems to be, they did catch the Jays a couple of years ago sleeping, and, same with Minnesota. But I will say this, I do like the fact that, like Liz says, we've got a lot in the cupboard right now. And I feel like properly used, I think that the Jays can go on a pretty significant run. Again, properly used. I think we need to heed the advice of our good friend Todd Stottlemyre and find our Dave Winfield. Again, there's another good shirt.
I agree.
Dave Winfield.
Yeah.
I'm my Dave Winfield. That's almost that. It's very Bound Francis. What was it? Trust your shit. Let it eat.
Yeah. Did you guys see him getting interviewed? And they're talking to him about this season. He's like, oh, come on. He's like, I don't want to talk about this season. He's like, I think next year I can be a person that goes every 5 days and does this fairly regularly. He just oozing confidence right now. And I love that he talks about meditating and doing other stuff that very few guys out there would, players would say, this is what I do. So,
he likes Sage in the clubhouse. He likes Sage in the clubhouse.
He needs to grow a little bit of hair back, though. He looks rough.
He looks like every man on Queen Street. He looks like every Toronto man's on Queen Street. My thing was this. So I tweeted
how did you find him then?
I tweeted out the picture of him on the bike when he was leaving the Dome.
Yeah.
Which caught some fire there. My thing is, buddy, I need you to wear a helmet. I need you to. You know what?
That's his life choice. You can't
make
him wear a helmet.
No, I can't. But it's
don't put baby in a corner. Nobody puts baby in a corner.
For my baseball team, I'm like, come on, man. For the Jays, come on.
Too funny.
Liz is ready to have the non-football activities part of the contract be all set. So, Jason, I know you have a hard stop coming up here in a few minutes, and seeing we do have a new sponsor on the show, I want to make sure we give them some time, and I thought it would be fun to use some of the I'll say discretionary funds that we were provided to make our first bet as a group. So I pulled a game for this evening because it won't let me go a day into the future. So if anybody hasn't heard yet, we're linked up with Underdog Fantasy Sports. Yes, we're those shills now that are going to 100% join Major League Baseball in the non-traditional Pete Rose fashion and jump 100% into sports betting. And here we are. So the question would be, as far as these are the prop bets for this evening. We have Brandon Pfaadt's going to be on the mound tonight. Corbin Carroll's obviously been on fire. We got the Brewers playing the Arizona Diamondbacks, and this is a hell of a matchup for this evening. That's kind of why I thought it might not be a bad idea to talk some playoff implications here, regardless of the fact that, Jason, as you mentioned, the Brewers are in. Yeah. So I'm going to take a vote from around the table here. I would say I like the action that's on Jackson Chourio for total bases, maybe, but I'm going to ask you two what you guys think out of those four guys right there.
What's Corbin Carroll got there?
Corbin Carroll is eight fantasy points, higher or low, a home run, more than higher on two total base. He needs two total bases basically, or he's going to have a hit, a run, or an RBI, some combination of those two things.
Well, I don't mind that. Total bases, that 1.5 total bases for Corbin Carroll. I don't mind that at all.
I don't have a problem with that either. What do you think, Liz?
I got no problem with
Lock
that.
It in.
Jason said.
Oh, those bastards! They killed it. I can't even do that one. Apparently, too many people took it.
Oh, okay.
Want to take that same bet with Jackson?
Yeah. Love Chourio.
Yeah, Jason.
There we go. So we'll just lock that in, and this is how easy it is.
Let's go.
Apparently, as long as you don't find the bet that is already locked out.
Yeah, locked out. Yeah, big thank you to Underdog Fantasy, and we're happy to be part of the team. And it's as you guys can see here, it's a pretty easy site. It's easy to use, and it makes it fun. By no means, be careful when you're doing it. Obviously, gambling is an interesting thing. It can certainly make fun, sports fun, but really make sure that you are keeping track of what you're doing, because it can get out of control. But
yeah, I'm putting a mere $5 on it.
Whoa!
Let's go. Let's go.
Big hitter. Big hitter.
Gotta get one going. I'm just happy somebody gave us money for the show for a change.
Hey, we're worth it.
We'll turn it into real profit.
Let's go.
Good deal. So now we'll end the show like we normally do with our illustrious picks to click. We are getting down to the end of the season, and our friends, the Looney Hot Dog Kings, Todd Stottlemyre last week had Vlad Jr. So there you go for that. Liz, you had Spencer Horowitz. Jason, I'm sorry to say you had Will Wagner, who got hurt.
I know.
And then I had Alejandro Kirk, and I closed the stats like an idiot. So give me a second.
Well, somebody had Vladdy, didn't they?
Yeah, that would be Mr. Todd Stottlemyre. Is a smart person, and his today counts because it was done before the show. Yeah. So 2 home runs for him, and nobody picked Davis Schneider. So that would have been the hottest actual bat, I think, out of those ones. And Vlad batted a mere .364 with 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, 8 hits. Davis Schneider was the only offensive force better than him. Yeah. And then we had, Kirk's down a bit. Spencer Horowitz, you would have beat me, Liz, at least. So that is going to put Todd Stottlemyre for the win, still maintaining the champion. I'm going to have to make sure we tell him about that whole thing that he won his pick to click, because now he actually ties. He took he tied the guest spot, now ties Liz at 6. I am trailing with 4 wins. Jason, you have 7. Liz coming on to the show mid-season.
Let's go.
Cinderella story, Angels in the outfield.
Let's get it. I'm gonna pick mine. We all know my picks to click. It's Vladdy. It's Vladdy. I taken Vladdy.
Vladdy, locking it in. I got to pick we don't have a guest on this week. They get to have the unfortunate handicap that is the rules. Whoever is the everyday player that has the worst last week, and that is currently, sadly, Ernie Clement. So the other roommate
been struggling.
Flick the other direction. So, but that is still a good spot for the guest spot to be able to do something with it. So, Jason, your pick.
I feel like I'm going to take George Springer.
Oh, I like that.
Feeling a Springer dinger coming?
Yeah, I feel like there's a Springer dinger on the way.
There you go. I honestly, I know who I want to pick, but I don't know if he's going to play enough over the next week. But he played a lot this past week. And I'm sure everybody's noticed that from our account, I've had a Man Crush Monday going on Nathan Lucas.
Love the guy.
So I'm thinking I got to do it.
Take a chance.
He's such a babe. Such a babe.
Yeah. I got to go with a hot hand. He had 6 hits last week.
I know.
And 3 RBIs. So, and 2 of those were doubles and a triple. Can't lose on that usually, unless it's to the cheat code that is whose Liz pick is with Vlad Jr. So, is there anything last minutes? I know you got to go, Jason.
No, I got to roll.
All
Love
right,
you guys.
I'll sign off. But anyway, we'll talk soon about the promo thing.
Sweet.
Anyway, Blue Jays fans, thank you very much for tuning into a wonderful evening of Jaybird watching. Make sure you check out Underdog Fantasy and our friends over at Fansided.com, jaysjournal.com. And please, for the love of God, join the conversations like Tanias did tonight. We're very happy to chit-chat. As you saw, he put those up. I had those up on the screen within minutes. We will chat with you. We are the Barroom Chat for Blue Jays fans. I will be in Toronto with Liz at the Marlins series for the Saturday-Sunday game. Make sure you come and join us. Find us wherever you happen to be. Say hello. I'd like to be recognized, maybe. So, on that, Blue Jays fans, take care. Have a great evening. And as always, let's go Blue Jays.
Thank you for listening to the Jaybird Watching Podcast. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch at BirdwatchingGC and our YouTube channel. If you want to support the show and get extra content, please consider joining to our Patreon at patreon.com/birdwatchinggc. Go Jays, go.
Woo!